Do you guys remember the game of the day a while back now where I was on a GS Mesmer and I engaged on a Soul Beast right here on Kylo? I did like 2 autos on him, but because he had Retaliation on him and his pet and they both had 25 might, I insta-died because I had a ton of packets. Do you remember? I just got globaled by Retail. Well, ever since that happened, I've been quite inspired, and I wanted to try out a duo revolving around this. So that's what you're watching here today. Let me be very clear. This is a gimmicky, fun, stupid DuoQ that I'm having fun with. It will never go toe-to-toe with, like, Reaper Tempest combos or, you know, classic Firebrand Scourge min-max stuff. But if you guys aren't, you know, particularly top-end, if you've got a friend from PvE or something, I do think there's a lot of interesting duos you can queue in on to feel that team fight role, and you'll be fine all the way through low plats and whatnot. So that's what this game is. All right, I'm not arguing that this is some new meta or something, but it is very, very funny. So basically, I had the concept of lots of splashback damage, and you guys might remember as well, I was playing with this in a solo environment with Mystic Rebuke recently. So I was playing Firebrand build. That means whenever you apply Aegis, it explodes and does damage. In that video, I think I did several videos on it actually. I pointed out how cool it would be to run that with a Minion Mancer, because essentially what this build does is every time Aegis explodes, it's about 1,000 damage. It can't crit as of the new recent patch. It's a nice baseline thing, not reliant on precision. It's about 1,000 damage. That means if you're a Firebrand, every time you pop your Mantra, as long as you get it on all your targets, you can potentially do like 5,000 damage every time you pop your heal mantra, or when you go into F3, or when you use the skill 5 in F3. Just all these different things that could do incredible pressure, not reliant on precision and whatnot anymore. So there's been multiple little changes and buffs recently that have made me really excited about the idea. And that's what this duo is. I'm currently queuing with a friend of mine who doesn't actually play Guild Wars that much. He wouldn't mind me saying that. He's pretty much a pure PvEer. But I told him like some of the basics of playing a support, and he came in and he had fun with me. So he's this Firebrand up here, and he's essentially a standard Firebrand build, except that we've subbed out his Meditations line for Aegis Explodes for damage. And also, he's on a Harrier amulet. Okay, so the Harrier is power, it's only 3 stats, so it's power main, which means you're at the highest baseline power level you can be at, which means his Retaliation hits super, super hard. Also, he's got concentration, and he's got heal power, okay? So that's the Harrier amulet. And so he's super vulnerable to power burst damage and all those kinds of things. But what it does mean is his retail is extremely strong. And also, he's got a couple of little bits of quickness on the build as well. The idea here is I'm a Minion Mancer Necro. I'm actually a Reaper, okay? And I spam out minions, which we give a ton of might, and myself might, and the Firebrand might, who then gives us retail, and the minions just obliterate things with retail. Anyone who does AoE and splashes a bit of AoE into these, the retail hits like a truck, because we're going to have a 25 might, you know, we're going to have tons of might out on these retaliation-oriented things. On top of that, you have big Aegis packets splashing flat damage back out. Again, there's no reliance on necessity for precision at the same time. It's just kind of this hilarious thing. The other thing is, because he's got a bit of quickness, I can actually run the tankier variant of Reaper, not go Reaper's Onslaught, and instead go more of the classic Paladins build, which I liked a lot of before, where you pick up Blighter's Boon. And so I can be in Shroud with the Blighter's Boon sustain and the quickness at the same time. You do miss a bit of Ferocity or whatever. But that's the idea. Big corrupts, big melee pressure, and just people who try to counterburst really get ripped up. Yeah, I'll show you guys how it looks now as we go in on the game. That's the idea of the duo. We're going to rotate as though we're Firebrand Scourge, right? So anyway, you'll notice that I'm on Blood is Power, right? So the minions, you got the heal minion, and obviously he'll be cleansing for me as much as possible. We've got the Flesh Golem, actually reasonable CC, but that's fine. And then also, I could go Rise, but I think I value the double minions instead, plus the Explode opportunity on them. But so between me, +1 minion is 2 allies, +3, 4 is 4 allies, +5 the Flesh Golem. He gets his 5 targets as long as he's rotating with me at any time, right? So the Aegis will, you know, we can get max value out of it. We've min-maxed on the number of minions, basically. And then I'm on Blood is Power. What Blood is Power will do is give me Might, And Might turns into Life Force for me because of Blighter's Boon. So I've double cast it out the gate here, so that at the start of the match, I actually have just under 50% life force. So one of the moments where we're going to be most vulnerable normally at the start of a team fight, I'm not actually going to be. It's a nice little perk here that I can do. But I can also, you know, give it to him. And the thing is as well, we're going to have minions that, you know, bite back because of the Retail and the Aegis. But also, they're going to be minions that have 25 might, quickness, and he's on Axe, which recently got buffed to have Fury. So the dream is you can actually have max damage buffed minions at the same time. I mean, I'm not Death Magic. I want to be very clear. I'm Spite Blood Reaper. If I was Death, you could do another 25%. I didn't want to go too much into that gimmick. But the minions will hit really hard. Not even just through their splashback damage. So the reason I'm showing you this Kylo game is going to become very evident now because I think it's hilarious. This was one of the earlier ones we did with this. So we're going to move up. We're going to pressure the node. You see we got a ranger here casting barrage. We're a little bit late there. What we try and do quite often is, you know, get the retail and stuff up nice and early. That would have been really good. But if we watch very closely, as I get in, I chunk some might up. I go into shrouds. Tons of boons available. We're looking pretty good. Okay, so I cast the Death Spiral. Now, right as I begin to cast this, you'll notice there is an Elementalist up here who's just cast Meteor Shower. So, you know, this isn't a common thing to find Starfellies, but I love this particular flavor of punish. What you'll notice is no one on my team is anywhere near that Ellie. No one's shooting it with range. He's just there completely unpressured, and he's cast Meteor Shower on us, okay? So watch this through. We wait a second, and he's dead. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing. What that would have been is Mystic Rebuke blowing him up. You'll notice that it was actually a retail proc off of our Hollow in the area. Obviously, everyone in the team fight gets the value of that kind of stuff. And, yeah, so that's kind of the idea of the build. It's pretty fun. We actually go down here. I think we lose this mid-fight, but I thought that Elementalist moment was so hilarious that I really wanted to show. All right, so we go back in. And so, yeah, this isn't very sturdy, honestly. It's probably a lot better than you guys are imagining. But you're going in with a Harrier's Firebrand. You're going in with a Necro with these kinds of utilities. You've lost a lot of quality of life. That means you're not going to be able to go blow for blow at the very top end, right? Also, we're kind of getting countered by Treb here, which I can't get my minions to dodge. So it's actually a little bit of a shame. And that holds me in combat kind of weirdly. We were wondering at this point if you could kill the Trebor from across the map by, you know, deliberately getting the minions and stuff hit, but we didn't really check that. I'm sure that there's a range on Mystic Rebuke and stuff. Actually, there is. It's point blank AoE around the Aegis explosion, but the retail maybe you could do a bit of damage with. Anyway, so yeah, now we'll just watch the rest of the game. We'll see how it goes. I think there should be some fun moments. Other builds that you can really comfortably punish. So here you'll see. I'm running Transfuse, believe it or not, because I'm Blood but no Wells, which is a little bit different to the old Paladin build. There I got completely annihilated by that Hollow. It was a bit embarrassing, to be honest. But because I have no Wells, it actually kind of frees me up. I can take Condi Cleanse in Shrouds, which might actually be a really good idea if you do go against Firebrand Scourge and you're actually having to take that 2v2. Or you can take Transfuse, which obviously is quite instrumental a lot of the time. And pretty nice. Okay, this is a bit weird. Editing in here, scrolling through the rest of the game. I've just recorded most of the video. And there's really not any interesting plays showing the duo off again for the rest of the match. We do win it. Let me see if I can get some other footage for you, and then we'll keep talking. I need to pick up my train of thought wherever I want to cut this in. 1 second, guys. Alright, this game looks okay. Couple of deaths in there, so we'll see what the circumstance was. Exact same concept. This was actually a game or two earlier than when you saw that Ellie. Sorry, so I think what I was saying before I cut there was other things that this is really good against. Greatsword Guardian is a really good choice because, you know, they've got just so many packets of damage. Your minions will move into them. They'll kind of nuke themselves. Maybe we'll see a little bit of that on this game here. Hollows, to an extent, it's really good against because when they go into Photon Forge, if they use, like, Photon Blitz and stuff, they can really mash themselves up with Retail. There's just quite a lot of stuff in that way that's pretty goddamn good. So, as we come through on this mid... we got a very quick kill there. That wasn't actually our combo. I feel that was actually our Deadeye that basically nuked that enemy Necro very, very quickly. We don't have to worry about that too much. So we got an enemy Weaver against us. There can be some good retail opportunity against them, certainly. The reason I say that is because they have a lot of like little packets on some of their abilities. Here I kind of got grinded down. Oh, I guess one of my deaths on this game is like right at the start here. like super at the start. We seem fairly... Wait, what was that by the end there? Were we outnumbered? Maybe? No, we weren't. I think it was a 3v3. I just got pressured too hard. Sword of Justice. I ate 7,000 damage over 8 hits of that. That should have probably punished him back a bit. But yeah, okay, so we get our minions back up. We can, you know, even use Blood as Power out of combat again to get a ton of life force. I really like that combo. And again, that's a fairly new balance thing. Here, once again, just pushing in, giving a bit of might over the Firebrand as we come forwards. Go for the pull. Get the blind field up. Get the transfuse res. Well, not actually transfuse. The blood res, we just use the blood well, obviously, there, right? And then we can swing forwards. Close is fine. We've got our LE seated on that. That's not a problem. The idea now would be to push back in. Pretty rough start, actually. The enemy team's pretty far ahead of us at the moment. There'll be a bit of back and forth based on what I know the score is at the end of this game. So, getting on node here. Because we're best when we're on node and then they, like, cluster onto things, right? Just trying to pressure right now. Can hide in Shroud. Obviously, there is that, like, side of this that it's a Reaper build that I'm opting to run here. Which, you know, if you get a really clunky F2 when the Reaper goes into Shrouds, that can be really ugly for the Firebrand, and they can really struggle to, you know, the Firebrand kind of feels a bit eliminated in those scenarios. But yeah, this Scourge gets ground down. Going against Scourges, this setup can be quite nice as long as they're not corrupting. And it depends on your, like, reapplication. If they just Desert Shroud, for example, and you have your Retail and stuff up, it can be... really deadly for them, but you know, they also do have a chance of corrupting and, you know, ending up flicking some confusion back. The thing to note is that this combo doesn't necessarily have more Aegis or more Retaliation than any other Firebrand build. It has the same quantities, so you know, any fear of corrupt that lies on this would also be the same for any other Firebrand build. The fact is that I was just hit really hard. So that was pretty good. We did a lot of pressure there, but only 8k was my Shroud ability. So here I go down. He's not going to have Mercy because we mercied that Thief earlier. It was a little bit unnecessary. Okay, and so I die again. Spoilers, I think those are my only 2 deaths to this game. My mistake there is definitely not watching respawns. Not respawns, just people incoming. Not realizing how outnumbered I was. Our Mirage didn't really seem to do anything in that fight either, unfortunately. But it's okay, you know. When you're playing kind of a cheesy build, I can't say that I'm, like, got a particularly try-hard mentality when we're doing a fun thing like this, but hey. So, yeah, on respawn, I opt to rotate through here just to force this guy off and make sure we can get a kill. We get a nice wall there to make sure he can't run away. Build as much life force as possible with the Axe 2 and then the Greatsword 3. And now we go up onto the node, and hopefully we can win some team fights. We got kind of separated a little bit, and that's obviously always a struggle. Here I pull back a bit because I know that we are quite outnumbered. It's just us 2 versus 3 of them. And if we come back, we can turn it into a 2v2 if one of them stays on the node. Right now, if you look at the minimap, we're actually watching for our respawning allies to enter the area of mid from the other side. Yeah, so we're just pulling back. There's no reason to go in there. They would just contest the node anyway. And yeah, so look, we've got a Mesmer and a Thief slowly wandering their way in. Just slow, you know, just being patient is definitely the way to go here. This is another nice wall as well, though that's a Weaver who could just twist a Fate and gain stab and then leave. So now we get on node, now that it's an even numbered fight. And the enemy actually kites out pretty quick, which is kind of nice to see, actually. They know that it's not going to be an easy fight for them. My Firebrand takes a lot of pressure. We sort of cleave down. I want to see if there's any good examples of the Retail and the Aegis explosions. There probably are a few. Here I transfuse his body over and go for a quick res. Unfortunately, there's a Twist of Fate on my my 5 there. Bit of a shame. If the Weaver comes back on, that's a really good wall because he'll CC himself on it. And he did. Yeah, that's kind of bad, to be honest. That wall wasn't a surprise to the enemy Weaver. He could have seen that a long time ago. Anyway, so down he goes. The Flesh Golem actually gets the kill there as well. So yeah, a lot of the little numbers you'll see, they are actually the minions hitting things. And they can build up. I think I saw one of my minions crit for 4k. I think it was the Flesh Golem. On crit can get a 4k hit, which isn't bad. That was a pretty misjudged GS5. But moving in, he goes immediately renewed focus, so I leave Shroud again. I don't actually want to push this too badly right now because mid looks like the better fight, but my Firebrand's pretty heavy for it as well, so we just decide to go on in. And we should cleave this guy down really quickly. There's no way he can actually survive this. So here, putting might on everything. And there you go. The enemy fire... Yeah, that's perfect. There you go. Why did the enemy guardian die there so fast? What was it that killed him? Well, if you look on the right above the minimap, it's Retail. And if you look at the Weaver that just died there again, it's Retail. So, yeah, you can really just rip yourself up if you're not careful. That added shroud pressure on top is just like the cherry on top, really. Or maybe we could say that the Retail is the cherry on top. But hey. Anyway, so now they're just kind of zerging in, and if we can hold this team fight here, this is kind of perfect, honestly. Another Blood is Power there over as many targets as I can get. We're trying to get the GS4 up. Great Sword is just so good on Node. And, you know, you've already got Axe as a little bit of a range set. I particularly enjoy it on this setup. Especially, so, by the way, the other thing with why you're Reaper here, when you're Bloods and Minions, you get a trait that means you lifesteal. And your minions lifesteal, obviously, because it gets shared out. But it's stronger while you're in Shroud. So a build like, you know, with lots of Shroud regeneration, Life Force generation, that runs something like Spectral Grasp, that hides in Shroud a lot, buffs the minions' damage in a way as well, too. You know, that's actually the decision. When it's Blood versus Death, which is the decision I had to make when concepting this, you know, you can say, oh, Death gives me 25% increased damage on my minions. But Blood also gives you damage on your minions via the vampiric life siphoning, which is actually quite a high packet when you're in Shroud. There was a beautiful dodge, if I do say so myself, on the Thief. It was just anticipating purely for the range there. Here I'm pushing back to the node because I know I've got my Firebrand incoming and he can just help me. I get a bit of a nasty corrupt that feared me away for a second, but we do hold it. And this guy kind of melts once again, dead to Retaliation very, very fast. I didn't even really do much for the might on that one. That's probably just the strength of Harriers in a big way with that. And, you know, plus the minions. So we pull this back down. I have been curious about this concept as well, for what it's worth, with other kind of zoo-y things. But I can't, and I don't like zoo at all. Let me just be clear. I think that this should remain somewhat of a gimmick. I don't know. I like paired synergies, and I think there should be more of those in the game. So in a weird way, I would like the balance to encourage something like this. But the zoo aspect, I definitely don't like it. The other one, though, would be like trying it on a Renegade, you know, instead of like a Reaper, you'd be on Renegade. But Reaper's just got so much strength in it at the moment. Just all on its own, that you can slap a couple of minions on and it's not too punishing. To go Renegade, I don't know. And how often can you really hold the spirits up? The Renegade Elite doesn't proc extra damage ticks when Retaliation triggers, does it? That would be insane. If your Elite meant that you double hit with Retail, kind of, because you got the... That would be absolutely really ridiculous. Maybe it's worth a check. But then what else is there? An Elementalist with 2 summons? That's pretty lame. Ranger running Hyena to spam Hyenas around? Come on, let's be real here. That's not a very good idea. You do have Ranger Spirits, but they're just not good enough, and they don't really do anything. You don't get to get value out of putting quickness and might and stuff on them, right? We kind of get double value out of mighting my minions right now. 1, their Retail hits harder. 2, they hit harder. So, I don't know whether I like the Spirits idea. I just think that this was the best one that I could come up with. And it is quite hilarious. That was another Retaliation kill you saw there a second ago too. This is an interesting game because you're not often seeing the icon for Mystic Rebuke, but that's another big thing, the Exploding Aegis. Quite often that scores the last hits. There also my minion cleaved the body out, the Flesh Golem. So we've only just started winning this game decisively, by the way. We now have a 100-point lead. That wasn't true before we started camping fire and just farming them on respawn, basically. Just looking towards mid and trying to make sure that I don't get too split up from my Firebrand. The enemy Weaver makes a huge mistake there, I think, personally. Here, my Firebrand gets a burst very hard because he is susceptible to the power pressure. But I get a quick res, and then our Deadeye actually snipes the other guy after I corrupt as well. You know, that's quite important because I could get the protection and stuff off. Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah, we only just really took the lead solidly, and I think we'll just sort of hold it now. All we have to do is take this far point together, and they have no choice but to trickle into this node, essentially. They've got mid to deal with as well at the same time. Here you go. Here's the traits. You can pause the video for a second. I guess I was pinging to him Ritual of Life. Yeah, and the Firebrand I'm playing with, you know, he's a PvEer. He played very well. He enjoys playing support. And I'd just like to say to you guys, I had a really positive experience, even if, you know, a lot of it was kind of teaching and, you know, going back to basics a little bit, and sometimes there were really clunky rotations and silly things going on just to sort of demonstrate points. It was still fun, so don't be scared to ask your other friends. People still have this weird conception about Guild Wars that support isn't a thing still, but it is. And if any of your friends ever picked up Guild Wars 2 and mained Guardian or whatever and felt like they never had a job to do and never had a place, you cannot get a more meaningful support experience in Guild Wars 2 than in PvP. You really can't. The PvE playing supports are just, they're hollow shells. They're nothing compared to what this is. So here's really nice. Look at how the minions just clustered around this Spellbreaker. So this means if an Aegis splashes out on them, it will just rip them to pieces. So being the firebrand, there's an extra dimension on this, waiting for the minions to close in at the right time so that your cone-shaped mantras do the right thing. And yeah, that warrior kind of got ripped up. So there you go. Just a fun idea. There's lots of duos that I really like the idea of, and I think that a lot of balance should be around them. Like Tempest Berserker combo with King of Fires I talked about in my big balance video recently. We'll see. If you guys have got any concepts, maybe I'll try them out if possible. But yeah, pretty good on the old top stats there as well. And I guess I'll see you guys for another one whenever.